said salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
على حب الحسن والحسين الثانية.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
على حب الزهراء الثالثة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. ونسأل الصلاة.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Never forget the salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I remember I've been to some communities where they say the salawat so much that sometimes you almost feel like, oh, I wish they wouldn't say it so much. And they say it a lot. But then when you go to a place where they don't say it enough, you really feel like you wish you were back in the center where they do say it, and they do recognize the benefit of it. So please never find the middle ground. But if you're going to err on the side of saying it too much, not saying too little.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
I feel kind of imprisoned. Sorry. So we were in the middle of this the story of Isa alayhi salam. He's been born, and the voice comes. Right? He's able to speak instantaneously. As soon as he's born, he's able to speak to his mother, and she was feeling this intense sense of anxiety because of this of the coming trials, and she could see what was coming. Some of the commentators, they say that the reason she says, "I wish I was dead," ليتني مت قبل هذا وكنت نسيا منسيا. I wish that I was dead and that I was a thing kind of forgotten, consigned to oblivion. They say the reason she says such an extreme statement is because of the pain. That the pain was so intense that she couldn't handle the pain, and she said this. It makes more sense though if you look at the two verses together. And she says this, and immediately as soon as she expresses this anguish that I wish I were dead, right, the way Isa alayhi salam comforts her, the voice comes from below her. Right? The voice that comes is Isa alayhi salam. He comforts her and says, "Eat and drink, and don't worry. When someone tries to speak with you, simply tell them that you made an oath." Let's go back to these verses and a couple more points, and then we'll move on to the new verses. Okay. So here he says, thereupon he called her from below her. And some of the commentators, again, this voice that comes, they've interpreted it as Gabriel calling. Right? As soon as she gives birth, and then this voice comes and says, "Do not fret, your Lord has made a spring to flow at your feet." They say this is Gabriel speaking. But the fact that he says min tahtiha, right, it's not very appropriate that Gabriel be under Maryam. Right? But it is appropriate that Isa, he's just been born, so he'd be on the ground, probably between her legs, or just on the ground below her. Right? So it makes sense that he would speak from that position. But it's not a very decent position for Gabriel, for the angel to be speaking to her. And he would be above her or beside her, or something like that. That would make more sense. So the fact that he says, the verse says from below her he spoke, that indicates that it's Isa alayhi salam. Okay. So this is where we got to. He speaks to her and he says, فَكُلِي وَاشْرَبِي وَقَرِّي عَيْنًا فَإِمَّا تَرَيِنَّ مِنَ الْبَشَرِ أَحَدًا فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. This is in Surah Maryam, verse number 26. Again, Isa alayhi salam tells her, eat, drink, and be comforted. This qarri aina is from the same root as qurratul ain. You might have heard the phrase qurratul ain, Arastu, for instance. It's a phrase. Qurra itself, it has to do with coolness, right? If you can imagine your eyes burning, sometimes you're tired or you have something in your eye and it burns. Right? Qurratul ayn is the opposite of that. If you squirt some Visine in your eyes, or if you put a cucumber over your eyes, or something cool, right? It kind of soothes your eyes, or if you take a nap, your eyes are soothed. Right? So that's what it literally means. But it's used as an expression for ease or for comfort. Right? When you feel, for instance, a parent when he sees his child succeeding, right? The kind of happiness that he feels, that's referred to as qurratul ayn. Right? So here where he says qarri ayna, he's trying to tell her, don't worry, don't fret about what's going to come. I'll be there to help you. Then he says, فَإِمَّا تَرَيْنَ. Then if you see any person, then say the following: I hereby make a vow to the All-Beneficent to fast in silence, so I shall not speak to any person today. There are two possibilities for this statement. Imagine the two scenarios. If Isa a.s. is telling her that right now, as of this minute, I want you to make a vow of silence. Okay? So right, as of this minute, as they're speaking, she's supposed to make a vow of silence. Then, say down the road, she's walking back to Jerusalem and she encounters somebody and they say salam to Maryam, or they say, who is this child, or something like that. If they address her, what is she going to do? She's taken a vow of silence. She's sworn not to speak. What Isa a.s. says is, tell that person that I made a vow of silence. I've taken a vow of silence. And she's taken a vow of silence, and she can't tell this person that I've taken a vow of silence, because that would break her vow of silence. Right? But the verse literally says, tell that person. Right? فَقُولِي إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ. Tell that person that you've done this. Right? So there are two possibilities. Either, when he says quli, tell this person that you've taken the vow of silence, he doesn't mean say it with your mouth, because you can't. You've already taken the vow of silence. Somehow you have to use sign language to indicate to this person, or write it down, or do something to indicate that, I can't speak. My lips are sealed. Right? That's one possibility. A better option, a better way to understand it is probably this: to say that he's not saying right now, as of the second, make this vow of silence, but rather this is your line of self-defense. Right now you can talk. Right? But if someone confronts you, and if someone says, Maryam, what are you doing? Who is this child, or something like that? At that point, at that moment, out loud, make the vow and say, I hereby make this vow of silence, and I will no longer speak to any person. Right? So if you do that, then this person knows what you're doing. It's clear to them. You don't have to use sign language or something. They know you're not just ignoring them or being rude to them, and they realize what the story is. At the same time, you protected yourself by taking the vow of silence. After the sentence, you no longer have to say anything, because they understand that your lips are sealed. Right, so that seems to be a better way to understand it. So if this happens, that's why I put this hereby in the translation. I hereby make a vow of to the All-Beneficent to fast in silence. The word that's used in the Arabic is as-sawm, the same word that we use for fasting, for abstaining from food and drink and all these things in the month of Ramadan, for instance. However, here, Isa a.s. doesn't mean that she needs to make a fast and fast from Fajr to Maghrib, and the way that we fast, abstain from food and drink. He simply means fast from words, like meaning take a vow of silence, no longer say anything. Okay, so it's a vow of silence. It's not a fast that includes refraining from food and drink and intercourse.